What's going on, everybody? Cody here with another episode of Everybody's Top 3. It is just me and Kristen today.
What's up?
And today we are going to do our top 3 serial killers.
Yeah.
Why don't you start out with your number 3, Kristen?
All right. So I chose Son of Sam because that's the most recent one I've watched. And it is interesting as fuck, although it's not just one person, I don't think. No, you're going to debate that.
Well, his name's David Berkowitz. Just throw that out there.
Oh, yeah. I have that all down. I did write some stuff down. His name's David Berkowitz, which is the guy that got, arrested and life in prison for the crimes. But I know he's not the only one.
Yeah, I don't believe you. I don't believe it.
They happened in New York.
I finished watching that fucking stupid documentary.
Okay, but yeah, they do kind of sway you to think.
No, they say things that just aren't true. You know?
Really? Like what?
Like that fucking cult that they fucking say that he was in.
Oh, yeah, they're just putting in things that they assume with no evidence.
Yeah, they're like, this is a devil-worshipping cult, but if you actually look up what their fucking values are, that's not what they are.
Wasn't
they're
it
not
called
devil worshippers. The process.
Yeah. I didn't put any of that in
You
this.
know that cross that they have, that they show for the process? It's like supposed to be like a reimagining of the swastika. Mm-hmm. And it's like a square in the middle with lines going off of it.
Okay, yeah.
I found that symbol in Call of Duty, Black Ops, one of the zombies. Yeah, it's like a fucking pattern on a wall.
Oh, word. Yo, whoever made that game is part of that part of the process.
Part of the process, yeah.
Dude, that's kind of cool. So the span of the crimes that David Berkowitz did with other people went from July 29th, 1976 to July 31st, 1977. So almost an entire year. Yeah, like a whole year. Number of victims was 6 killed, 7 wounded. So basically what he would do, I didn't write. Do you remember the gun?
It was a 45?
I think so, maybe 44.
No, 44, because they call him the 44 caliber killer.
Yeah, okay, yeah. He would just literally just wait for people chilling in their cars, because back then, was that really a huge thing?
It seems to be, because that was one of my killers. That was what he did. He it's what, the Lover's Lane.
Yes,
that's
Lover's Lane.
Yeah, I guess that's what people did back then. Thing is, we grew up in the country, so there was no Lover's Lane.
We have the Lover's Cliff that you just go in the woods and park at.
And everybody had you could just find any back road.
Yeah.
It doesn't it's just, I don't know. It's weird to me that people would all go to the same place and that everybody just knows that place is where teenagers go to fuck.
That guy that got shot and lived, he explained his story so we just parked in front of this random house and just started doing it. I'm like, what? You can't tell me it's New York, but you can't tell me there's no woods around.
It's New York City though.
Oh, that's
so there is no woods. You got to drive fucking 45 minutes to get to woods. If you wanted a
quickie, I get you. Okay.
It's like for us, there's woods around.
Yeah.
There's any fucking road. You can pick any road out here. You can find a stretch that doesn't have a house that you can park in front of.
Literally where you live. Yeah. Further down, perfect. Or Canton has a bunch of places like that. Lamb's Lookout was one, a whole bunch of fucking places.
Yeah, it's just weird to us because that's every road around here.
Or
as long as it's not your road, so your parents don't come up on you, you're good anywhere.
That's a good point. So his convictions were 2nd-degree murder and 2nd-degree attempted murder. 6 life sentences. He's still alive. He's 67 and he's still in prison.
I thought he was dead. I didn't realize he was still alive.
Yeah, he's the only one of my 3 that are still alive. But so basically what happened was he did kill some people, and then while he was in prison, he would the detective or cop that was working on the case. He wasn't even a cop. It was that dude.
Wasn't he just a journalist?
Yep, he was just a journalist. I don't know.
Maury something?
Yeah. He, was obsessed with this case. Essentially killed him in the end because he was, insane about it. Because he knew the truth. It
drove him to smoking, 3 packs of cigarettes
a
day.
And drinking and, yeah. And, he was obsessed with it because, he knew the truth and he had so much evidence, but the New York police wanted to just...
Truth.
Okay. Okay. But anyways, so the NYPD would just pretty much let it go. And then because they got the killer, so they're like, okay, let's rid of this. But then killings were still happening that were linked together with this. And So I kind of thought what you did. Like, maybe he's just making this up and he is insane because a dog, in quotations, are the ones that gave him the idea to go kill these people. So
Yeah,
I'm
the dog
like,
was
this is
Sam, right?
stupid. Yeah. I'm like, this is fucking dumb. He's just insane. But then when he was in prison and he wrote that Mari guy, whatever the fuck his name is, that letter saying that girl was going to die in that church, I'm like, how did he know that? Like, there's definitely more than one person. Because that was in California where that girl died, right? It was far away. It was California, I'm pretty sure. It was far away.
Wasn't it in Salt Lake City? Is that the one that was in Salt Lake City?
No, I'm pretty sure it was California. Because it was
it might have been.
It was
might
the
have
other
been,
end
San
of the country.
Francisco or something.
Yeah. It was at like a college church thing. And she was in there praying. And then
somebody shoved a candlestick up her vagina.
Up her vagina. Yeah. And killed her. And anyways, David Berkowitz was in prison when that happened. And he told that Murray guy it was going to happen. So then I'm like, yo, maybe there are more than one person. I don't know.
You know where it really truly lost me? When Mari was doing his whole interview with Berkowitz.
Yes, he definitely had his own agenda in that.
Yeah,
and that was insane.
Literally, Berkowitz just gave yes/no answers. Like he that I don't fucking remember what his name is. That dude he just laid everything out for Berkowitz to just agree with.
Yeah,
you know, he's like, it was just like, did you act alone? No.
Yeah.
Did this person help you? Yes. Is this person the one that pulled the trigger? Yes. Is this person the only person that helped you? No. Are you involved with the process? Yes. And it's like, why don't you ask him questions so he can admit it himself? Like, you're literally just spelling this whole thing out for the dude.
Like, that news lady was very much like, then I knew he was had his own agenda behind doing the interview instead of just trying to get the truth out. But I did notice in the interview he really did only say who it was. The people were dead, the people he admitted to. He was like, there's more, but he wouldn't say who they are.
Yeah,
but he only admitted to the ones that were dead, so nothing could happen.
Well, he only admitted to the ones that the guy brought up, right?
Yeah. No, there was one. He's like, isn't there someone else? And they're like, yeah. And then he's like, who? He kept saying who and intimidating him. And he's I can't.
Because the dude, because he didn't have any other names. He only had the names that were given to him. So you know what I mean? The only names
I'm gullible.
Yeah, the only names that David Berkowitz gave were the ones that somebody already gave to him. When he was asked to come up with new names, he froze.
I still think. No, I'm not gullible. I really do.
The dude's a nut job. So he's a crazy person who was given an opportunity to look a little less crazy.
But how do you explain the girl dying in the church and him knowing and warning them?
I can't. I really can't explain that.
Yeah, that's the only part that makes me there's definitely more.
Except maybe, I wouldn't be surprised if Berkowitz didn't act alone. I'm not going to say, I shouldn't say that he absolutely didn't act alone. Even though I don't necessarily believe that he acted alone.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a weird story.
Yeah. And the thing is, you got to remember the cops back then weren't exactly clean cops. You know, this is the same. Yeah.
Still.
But we might not have evidence of them now, but we actually have evidence that most of the police in New York City were incredibly corrupt in the 70s.
Yeah. Fuck
they made a whole documentary about it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of weird watching documentaries that are on the other side of the law where they're talking about and these good cops did their job and all that. But then you can watch another documentary about the same cops from that same era, and it's none of the cops were good.
None of them.
Everybody was dirty. They were all taking drug money.
Another one of mine's about bad cops, actually. But no, but pretty much David Berkowitz was the one that got in trouble and sentenced to death. So yeah, it's sad.
All right, want to move on?
Yeah, I want to move on.
So my number 3 is H.H. Holmes. Have you ever heard of H.H. Holmes?
No, I knew I wouldn't know any of yours probably.
He is one of the first convicted. Well, he wasn't even convicted. He was only convicted of one murder, and he confessed to 27 murders between 1891 and 1894.
Holy fuck.
So yeah, he was one of the first American serial killers that we know about. I picked him because he built a hotel that was dubbed the Murder Castle, where he built secret rooms and secret passageways that he would chase his victims through.
Bro,
yeah,
that's
it's
sick.
crazy. If you I think there's a documentary I think it's on Netflix about him.
So did he
it's
get
kind
off?
of a dull documentary, but it's no. They convicted him of one murder, and since it was the 1800s, that was enough to kill him like on the spot.
But I mean, like, was his thrill like getting off to the fear of them, like, because he chased them?
I think so.
So he probably just like was in for it for like the fear of women. Okay.
Well, I didn't say it was women.
Oh, okay. You're
I think
right.
it was both. I think he killed both men and women. I think he just liked to kill people. Okay. And he built this. He had people help him build this, but he would keep like firing the contractors, so nobody but him knew the actual layout of the hotel.
Oh, word.
So he would hire a guy and have him build like one floor or like a couple of rooms on a floor, and then he would fire him and hire somebody else to do something, to do like a little bit more. Then he'd fire that person and hire somebody else.
When I learn about a serial killer, the first thing I think of is like, why are they doing it? Like, that's very interesting to me because they all have different reasons most of the time.
Mm-hmm. And just as somebody who's not insane, it's like, why?
Yeah.
What pushes somebody to cross that line?
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool that he's the first one that we know about. I mean, it was really easy to just kill people back then, but he built a hotel to do it. So,
and he even he built vents in some of the rooms so he could just gas people while they were in the rooms. But what I didn't realize now, like when I was doing the research for this, was apparently he didn't actually open the hotel as a hotel. Like he never, because it didn't get finished being built until 1894 or 1893, and there's no record of it actually being a real hotel, of it actually being used as a hotel.
It was literally just for him to kill people, and he just gave it a name so it seemed legit.
So he would go to the 1893 World's Fair and meet people and tell them that he had a hotel that they could stay in. Because it's the World's Fair, there's people coming from all over the world, and he would take them back to this so-called hotel and then basically torture them, like psychologically.
Are there pictures
of
him?
Yeah. Obviously, I don't have any.
I know.
But there's a very famous picture of him where it just, I don't know, he just looks like an old dude from the 1800s. You know,
that's sick. That's
he's got like a top hat and a fucking mustache and shit. But yeah, that's why I picked him, because I've got a very specific reason for picking the three that I picked. And the reason I picked him is because of like the murder castle and him building this whole elaborate building.
Yeah, like he thought.
Yeah, he didn't. It wasn't like a random killing. Like he planned it all out. And the murder that he was convicted in was it was like his assistant, I think, that he killed.
Oh.
But that was the one that he convicted in. But then he confessed to 27 different murders. But the other interesting thing too is some of the people that he confessed to murdering ended up being like verifiably alive. Like they found those people and they weren't fucking dead.
So then what? So
maybe he only killed the one person. You know, I really don't know.
And he just had he just tortured people. Oh, no, they would confess though. They would be like,
but it wasn't all of them. Like there was some of them that they definitely
died.
that they never found anyway. But the hotel existed. People I think they tore it down at this point. But it people went through that fucking hotel and found his passageways and his secret, like every room, every like actual hotel room had like secret doorways that he could enter that led to some kind of passageway
some
and
Jigsaw shit.
Yeah, like
He's the first Jigsaw. Like they should have a movie like based on that guy that's like in that franchise, because that would be sick. Like kind of base it on that. Oh my god. Yeah. That's a good fucking idea that I just came up with. That's a high, but
I bet there's an H.H. Holmes at least planned movie out there. In fact, I might be making this up on the spot, but I feel like Leonardo DiCaprio bought the rights to an H.H. Holmes movie.
That would be
that he
so
hasn't
fucking sick.
made yet.
But think of it like Saw, like Jigsaw, like have it be like that story, but like part of that franchise, but obviously exaggerate some of the shit for that because they're very graphic, but like have it based on that guy. Because it is kind of the same thing, like weird rooms to like torture people.
He had rooms where he could gas people.
Yeah,
and shit.
Like that's fucking dope.
And he had I think he had chutes built in some of the rooms, so after he killed the person, he could send them down a chute into an infirmary and burn their body and shit.
Bro, like that's what I'm saying. That's sick.
Yeah, so that was my number 3. What's your number 2?
Okay. Fuck. So I did for my number 2, The Confession Killer. Henry Lee Lucas. I'm only seeing like the docs I watched, so if people want to watch what I did, like this is where I'm getting my information on, so there might be other information that I'm not saying right or whatever. from like a podcast or something. But anyway, so Confession Killer is the doc on Netflix. All these are on Netflix. Netflix has the best docs, though, I think. Kaylin says no. Like, I get...
They're the most interesting. It's just sometimes you watch them and you're like, I don't know how much of this I can believe.
Yeah.
You know, they are very captivating. Like, it's once you get into one, it's hard to stop watching it.
Well, I believe the Henry Lee Lucas one because all of it's literally footage from all of that shit.
Right.
Mostly. So it happened in Michigan and Texas, like the killings. The span of the crimes went from 1960 to 1983. 23 years, dude.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
How many, like, the victims, there were 3 confirmed, 8 disputed, but he claimed hundreds. So
yeah.
He was sentenced to death, and then he died March 12th of 2001 by congestive heart failure at the age of 64.
There seems to be so many serial killers that get convicted. They always end up dying before they actually
because death
get
row's
their death sentence.
Yeah.
Well, then they can keep appealing over and over again for fucking 30 years.
Yeah. It's frustrating because sometimes you just want them to, like, why can't you just
kill them right then?
Just do it.
Once they're convicted, especially if they've confessed. If they've confessed to the murders, okay, walk them out of the courtyard or courtroom and shoot them in the face.
Yeah, treat it like a dog that bit. Treat it like a pit bull that bit somebody, even though they're innocent animals. Just do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, you did all these murders. Bang. Like, why? What's the point of even fucking?
But with Henry Lee Lucas, he literally confessed to hundreds of cases that were like proven. Just the journalist is the one that figured it out. Like, he followed the case. He's like, this doesn't add up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in any way, because he would. So pretty much the police then in Texas, the Texas Rangers, they like pretty much would bribe him because he already had like life in prison. Like, he's already fucked because he did kill people. He did do some. And they're like, we'll get you a strawberry milkshake every day if you just keep confessing to all these crimes because it makes us look good.
Yeah, these are the same cops I was just talking about.
Oh, really?
That they made. Well, not the same cops, but like this is the same. This
scenario.
is the same. Yeah, that I was talking about with the Son of Sam killer, where like they talk because you watch that documentary. They talk about the cops like they're the greatest cops in the world, and it's like, well. Yeah, these are the same types of people that got fucking Henry Lee Lucas to confess to a fucking million murders that he never fucking committed.
And then imagine, like, because the family of the person killed, like, wants that closure. Like, they probably felt great afterwards. And then to be told, like, he probably didn't. Now you're back clueless, not knowing who your family member's killer is. Like, that's awful.
Yeah.
They were just out for themselves.
I don't believe in closure anyway.
Okay. But a lot of people do. Like,
no,
a lot of people.
I mean, I don't think, because that's my second one. One of the things, because I don't want to get into it.
I don't really believe in closure either, but families, like, to know who killed your daughter is like a big thing. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of puts at least that what's up in the air away.
Was one of the victims' fathers of my second one, he said that that's what he thought beforehand. But then after finding out who killed his daughter, he's like, I thought this would make me feel better, but I didn't feel any different about the situation.
Well, yeah.
And that was what he said, like, oh, closure doesn't exist. I don't feel any better knowing this now. Like, I still don't have my fucking daughter.
That's true. Like, yeah. Like, I don't know how I would feel in a situation like that because it's never happened.
That's why I'm just saying, like, I wonder what, like, if those families actually at that point when they find out that Henry Lee Lucas didn't kill their kids, how they actually feel, because I wouldn't be surprised if some of them were just like, whatever, I don't fucking care anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I've already, like, I thought I knew and I thought it would make me feel better and it didn't, so now even if I do, even finding out that it wasn't him, who fucking cares anymore, you know?
It's just, yeah, you're right. Another fucked up thing about this thing, though, is this religious lady, I forget her name, I'm terrible with names and dates, but this bitch, she was really religious, helped him find God and kind of helped him convinced him to, she essentially helped him want to admit to all these things too, because he thought he was doing it for God. You know what I mean? Like, they all kind of like had their part, and then they ended up falling in love. And even in the beginning of the doc, she's like, his room smelled horrible. Like, I remember her being like, it was awful, he was disgusting, and he was disgusting, look up a picture. But also, his mom, like, beat the fuck out of him when he was a kid, like, with a 2x4 and, like, fucked him up. So, like, that's like he hates women because his mom was a piece of shit to him. Like, and
that's why he raped so many fucking people.
His wife and like, didn't he fuck up his wife and daughters? Or his wife's still alive? Like, something with his wife was weird.
Yeah, I'm sure he wasn't very nice to her.
Yeah, but I don't think he killed her.
And he killed his partner Otis Toole's sister, I believe. And that might have just been in the movie too. I'm not sure, but in the movie that they made about him, he fucking killed Otis O'Toole's sister. Henry, Portrait of a Killer. You never see that?
Mm-mm.
It was well, I guess that's not surprising because it was like a banned movie back in the 90s when they made it because it was really graphic. Like especially for the 90s, or it might have even been the late 80s. Michael Rooker was played Henry Lee Lucas, and it showed like unflinching graphic depictions of like rape and the murders and stuff. It's rough to watch. I watched it when I was way too young to fucking watch it.
Good.
And even as a kid, just being like, wow, this is barely a movie just because it's so rough. Like, it's just like an excuse for somebody to show. I mean, kind of, but even worse because it's like it felt like an excuse to just show brutality on TV. You know, it would have. I mean, and just knowing that it was a real killer, like it was a real person, just makes it that much worse.
That's true. Like, but also, so like, what he would do with his friend is like after going to the bar, they would go on like exits. Like they would find women hitchhiking, and then just like fuck them, like
rape them, rape and murder them.
Yep. And then but so he would like claim he did something all over the US. Didn't even go to another country. Yes, because so the journalist guy brought in 2 like Japanese people or like Asian people, I don't know exactly what country, and they're like asked him, how did you get over to this country to do, I forget what it was, but that was like the moment when the journalist was like, he's bullshitting, because he's like, oh, I drove right over. And they're like, how did you get to this country, like, over the ocean? I forget which one it was. And he's like, oh, I drove right over. And then that's when the journalist guy's like, this is when I needed to dig. This is when I needed to...
I'm dealing with a fucking liar.
Yeah. And that's when he started...
uneducated one at that.
Yeah, and that's when he started, like, matching up times and dates. And, like, how was he in California, then in New York in 2 hours and stuff like that by just driving because he never flew. And then he would go to the town he lived in with his wife, look up dentist appointments and shit like that and whatever, and then he figured it all out and then realized, wow, this dude's been fucking lying about hundreds of people because the police would give him like some of the details of the story that they have on file and then have the people come in from the other police stations and have them interview him. Then he knew all the info.
Yeah, it's kind of like the West Memphis 3 killings when fucking they would they had the one kid in the, I don't know, do you know anything about the West Memphis 3? Well, they had, like, the one kid, and he was technically considered mentally retarded. Mm-hmm. Like, he was like Forrest Gump, like, just on the other side of the line.
Like, high-functioning, kind of?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, they locked him in in an interrogation room with a couple of cops for, like, 13 hours. Until they were finally just like, we're gonna convict you no matter what, you're gonna get convicted, so you might as well just confess now. And then they just fed him all the information that he needed, like, and they have clips of him saying this is how it happened, and the cops saying like, no, it's not, it happened like this, and him being like, oh yeah, it actually happened like this.
Oh my god. Yeah, dude,
if you want to check out a fucking crazy documentary series, check out it's called Paradise Lost. And it's about these 3 kids. They were literally like 17, 18-year-old kids that were into the occult. They were into like witchcraft.
Oh, okay.
And one of them was into witchcraft. One of them just liked Metallica and used to wear like Metallica shirts and had like a mullet and shit.
This is dark.
Yeah, and they got convicted of murdering these 3 children. And like it's crazy. You'd
have on Netflix?
Just check it out. I think it's on HBO.
That's fine.
It was originally an HBO documentary.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up.
And then actually, the original documentary got the 3 kids out of jail because when they made the original documentary, they were in jail for the murders. And then after the documentary, I think the second part of the documentary is about like this group of people rallying behind these kids to try and get them out of jail.
That's dope.
Then the third one is them adjusting to life now that they're out of jail.
Word. Okay, I'm gonna watch that.
It's really, really good. It's basically the Stephen Avery, the Making a Murder documentary before that.
Oh, okay.
You know,
okay.
But it came out in like the 90s and early 2000s. It got Metallica. That's the only time Metallica's ever let their songs be used in a movie.
Oh, wow.
Because the Metallica found out the story of these kids, and they were like, we support them. And it was Metallica and Johnny Depp and like a bunch of other like famous notable people got these kids out of jail, helped get these kids out of jail.
Oh, I'm gonna watch that.
It's really good. Dude. It's really, really. It'll make you fucking hate the police.
Paradise
Lost.
I'll
fucking text it to you later.
Okay, do that. All right. What's your number 2, dude?
My number 2 is Edward Edwards.
Wow.
Again,
simple.
Somebody you've never heard of before, right?
That shit, yeah.
Yeah. So before I say anything, a lot of my information came from a podcast called The Clearing, and it's an 8-episode podcast that's just about Edward Edwards. He committed his murders between 1977 and 1996. He was convicted of 5 murders, I believe. And he didn't get convicted until 2010.
So he spaced out his murders.
It depends. He could have. They believe so. So what happened with this guy? How he got caught was his daughter. His daughter kind of had these repressed memories of him telling his kids that he was a murderer. That kind of like that started to come back to her later on in life, and she contacted her sister and stuff and was like, look, I'm having all these weird memories come back. And her sister was just like, no, those are real. Like, I remember them too.
Oh my God.
And like, they had this like real heart to heart of like, should we turn our father in? He may have killed people. And they did. They finally turned him in to the police when he's a fucking old ass man.
Yeah.
You know, he was like in his 60s, 70s in like a wheelchair and had fucking oxygen and shit. And the police showed up at his fucking trailer in like Louisville, Kentucky. And these are police from fucking Wisconsin. And they fucking talked him into getting a DNA test, and they matched the DNA with murders that happened in the 70s.
Why would he agree to a DNA test? Well, because if he denied, then
they more or less pressured him, and his wife kind of did. Like this podcast I think is great because it has real interviews and real fucking conversations with this guy and his daughter. Like, his daughter was a huge part in making the podcast.
I low-key feel like I've heard of this situation.
So what happened is this is why I actually started, because I didn't know a lot about it until listening to this podcast over the past couple of days. And what I found out about it through a conspiracy theory podcast that I found, where this guy named John Cameron came on, and he started accusing this dude of basically every unsolved murder that's ever happened since the 70s till now.
Oh.
And like the first like half of the podcast was really interesting because he's saying like, oh, this guy is the Zodiac, because if the murders that he did get convicted of are very similar to the Zodiac. And there he started saying that this guy was David Berkowitz. He was the Son of Sam killer. He was
just like everybody.
Well, yeah, but those ones actually line up, you know?
Yeah.
Because his murders were the same. He would go to Lover's Lane and shoot kids in the back of the head, just like the Zodiac did and just like Berkowitz did. So he started saying, like, this guy is David Berkowitz, and this guy, or he's not David Berkowitz, but this guy is that killer, and this guy is the Zodiac. So, like, the first half of it listened to was like, oh, wow, this is really interesting. He might be right.
Yeah.
But then further along he's like, oh, yeah, this person killed John Benet Ramsey. This guy is the one who committed the Stephen Avery murders that Stephen Avery got convicted of. This guy, he says he's the one that committed the West Memphis 3 killings of the 3 little boys. He just accuses him of everything. So by the end of that podcast in particular, I was like, okay, this guy's fucking insane.
Yeah.
But I still, just because of my interest in conspiracy theories, I was like, I want to put this guy on the list. So I started doing research, and I found this podcast, and I started listening to it. And it's his daughter just talking about she believes that he did commit more murders than what he confessed to. Like, she believes that he could be the Zodiac killer.
Dude, that's
and apparently
it brought
up these memories of him forcing his kids to watch shit about the Zodiac killer and talking about it and shit. Like, it's really, really good. Anybody listening to this who's interested, go check out the Clearing podcast. It's fucking amazing. It's so good.
I'm gonna listen. Is there no video? It's just listening?
It's just listening.
That's fine. All right. I usually don't do that, but I'll do that because that's interesting. Because what if he is the Zodiac killer?
Well, what they kind of figure out towards the end is it's likely he's not the Zodiac, but it's really likely that he knew who the Zodiac was.
So he might
that
just
him
be a
and
part.
like he may have even helped the Zodiac.
Okay, so maybe I feel like there is a big group, kind of like what David Berkowitz said. Like he didn't give out names other than the ones that were dead, but I think there is just like a big group of people that know of each other that just like have done, like, you know what I mean?
I suppose it's possible.
Maybe they're not as close as they make it out to seem, but they know of each other and they work together in ways. Like, hey, I couldn't kill this person. Couldn't you do for me? Like something like that. I don't know, but
I mean, I suppose it's possible. I just the documentary, the Sons of Sam documentary was just so. I feel like it embellished a lot.
They did. And that interview that Mari did. We're gonna go with his name's Mari. I'm not sure, but
it was Mari. It was his first name. I just don't know what his last name was.
Okay. But when he did that interview, that was very like, man, I want to believe what you think so bad, but you do too. You just want the proof so bad, and it's like. The way you're going about it, like everything.
And especially by the time he did that particular interview, that guy had been so fucking deep into the story, that it was like his whole life depended on that being the case. Because if any evidence came up that he was wrong, that was like how many years of his life did he just waste on that shit?
Yeah, so it like his life, like his like everything, his rep, everything is on the line for this. And it's like he wrote a book.
Well, that's another crazy thing about that podcast is the guy that I was just talking about, John Cameron, who accused him of all these killings. The guy who made the documentary, his name's Josh Dean, or the podcast, I mean, Josh Dean, and Edward Edwards' daughter confronted that guy. And they have it all on tape. It's all on it's all recorded interviews. They confronted him and they called him out on his shit. And he was like, he kept telling them, he denied all, he was like, I can't even say they call him out on his shit because they even say like, I think he believes what he's saying. Like, they believe, they're like I don't think he's
situation.
lying. Yeah. And he was just like, but at the end of that episode, he was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I still believe what I do. Like, I don't want to keep pushing this, but I'm glad that you guys came along and you're interested in this story and you're trying to answer some of these questions. And he handed over all of his research. To the dude's daughter and this Josh Dean guy, and he's like, here's all of my research, because if you can solve a murder with what I'm giving you, and then you've done better than me, because he never actually proved anything.
That's kind of how this Sons of Sam thing ended. Remember, they got all of Mari's research.
Well, that's kind of how it begins. The guy who made the documentary gets his research dropped on his doorstep.
Yeah, and then that makes me sad. It kind of makes me sad because it really is like, that was his life, and then it just whatever. But the Edward Edwards thing is very interesting. I'm gonna listen to that podcast because what if he is the Zodiac killer? Or
he definitely. I mean, if you listen to this podcast, it seems like he definitely knew who the Zodiac killer was.
Well, yeah. Another thing I wanted to say about the Sons of Sam thing was all of the what are they called? The faces that they draw to try to find the person.
The police sketch drawings.
The sketch drawings. No, why couldn't I think of that? They were all different. When usually they are pretty close to accurate every time, like statistically. And all like, however many, they're like 6, 7, were all different. So that was another thing that's like, you know.
Yeah, but you can't trust eyewitnesses. They're never, well, I can't say never, but they're not always.
Yeah, well now, you can't get away with shit. Because we all have phones now. We gonna video everything we do. So,
and just some more before we move on. Some more interesting things that I learned about Ed Edwards. So apparently, to punish his kids, he had hooks hanging in his garage, and he would hang his kids by their belt loops on the hook for like hours at a time.
Oh my god!
Just hang them up there. He killed his adopted son for the insurance money. After his son went AWOL from the military.
Sometimes you got it, you know what I'm saying?
And when he did that, he staged a phone call with his son. Like his son came after his son went AWOL from the military. He came to his dad, his adopted son. He came to his dad, and his dad was like, "All right, we got to plan something out." And he wrote a fucking script for him and his son had his son go to a fucking payphone, because this dude, Edward Edwards, used to record himself nonstop. Everything he was doing, he was always recording himself on a tape recorder.
Did the son want to die?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
This kid, everybody says he was slow. He was not an intelligent
So he
kid.
was just convinced to do this
he
interview.
Was
Scripted?
Yeah, because the dad wanted to do it in a way to make it seem like nobody knew where the kid was.
Oh,
because the kid was staying with his dad, so his dad fucking wrote this whole script for him, scripted this whole phone call for him, so that way he could give it to the police. And in the phone call, he keeps saying like, "Where are you, son?" And the son would be like, "I can't tell you that, Dad," even though he was living under his fucking roof. And got him to admit to stealing from him, even though he didn't. It was all fake. It was all staged, but he got him to admit to stealing from him. And it was just a way for Edward Edwards to absolve himself of the murder. And then he took the kid out in the middle of the woods and shot him in the head. And then collected $250,000 of insurance money off of him.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
It's crazy.
Aww.
It's crazy. Like, just the fact that he would write a whole script and just go through this whole thing. And like, they play the recording in this podcast.
Yeah.
And they play it first before telling you that it's scripted. They play like half of it.
Yeah.
And you listen to it like, oh wow, this is a weird, crazy conversation. Then they kind of interject and they're like, so what we realized is that this is a scripted phone interview.
Whoa.
And then they play like the bottom half of it and you listen to it and you're like, oh yeah, you could tell now.
Is
like,
he alive
you can
still?
tell. No, he died a couple of months before he was supposed to get the lethal injection. He was supposed to get like the lethal injection in like August of 2011, and he died in April of 2011.
So I get trauma, and I get like how people cope by just completely forgetting things. But like, did the daughters have a good relationship with him once he was older? Like, because she said the memories were coming back, so she obviously blocked them out. So did they have a normal relationship with him before they?
The way she talked, because like the guy who did the podcast keeps coming back and saying like, look, she's saying like it's hard to get a lot out of her. She takes all of it. There's some like, even hearing her talk about it's a little odd because she's got so nonchalant about it. But it's also, it's because of the trauma.
Yeah.
Like when I first started listening to it, I was like, this girl seems suspicious the way she's talking about her father being a killer. But the further along you get, the more you're like, she's like, traumatized.
She's fucked up. Yeah.
Like she can't break down every second of her life because of her fucking.
Because she's literally spent her whole life blocking it out. Because like the Hook thing, like you would remember that. You'd think your whole life, like that's so. It was actually
she didn't even tell the guy about that. It was her babysitter.
Wow,
the guy Josh Dean got a hold of her old babysitter, and he told her about that.
That's sad. Oh my god.
And this babysitter also told another story of when Ed Edwards like shot at them with a pistol for fun. Like told them like, oh guys, go run out into the woods, and then they all hear a gunshot and they turn around and he's pointing a gun at them laughing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but it's just like this was this lady's childhood. So it's like when we hear those stories, we're like, oh my god, but she's just like, oh, that's just what happened.
I didn't die.
Yeah, it's just like that was my childhood. I didn't realize everybody's dad didn't shoot at them.
Man,
it's crazy.
Shit like that makes me so sad.
It's a crazy podcast. I would suggest anybody checking it out.
I'm gonna, for real. That's
right.
insane.
Well, let's move on from Ed Edwards.
Okay.
We spent a long time talking about him.
Yeah, that's interesting as fuck.
What's your number one?
Your number one better top that one.
I don't know if it will. The thing is, I know so much more about Ed Edwards because the past 2 days I've been listening to this fucking podcast. And like it's all such firsthand accounts. Yo, like H.H. Holmes, there's no firsthand account of that. Like that was in the fucking 1800s.
That one's interesting as fuck though too. Like, wait, what was your like reasoning for picking Ed Edwards?
I picked him originally because of the conspiracy theories I heard about him.
Oh, okay.
But I stuck with him, and I probably should have moved him up to my number one because after hearing this podcast about his daughter and shit.
Well, okay, because we need to do conspiracy theory like top 3. But anyway, so I did. Night Stalker is the doc, but it's Richard Ramirez.
Well, they did call him the Night Stalker.
Well, yeah, but that's also the name of the doc on Netflix. All the crimes happened in California, in Los Angeles, and San Francisco. The span of the crimes were from April 10th, 1984 to August 24th, 1985. So a little over a year. 15 plus victims, because in the end they're like, we know of 15, but we kind of think there's more because in the end, they found like some crimes that happened before the first one they realized were his were like very similar.
I don't know a whole lot about Richard Ramirez.
Oh, okay. So like he was fucking awful, which is why he's my number one. Like this one was hard to watch. It really was. I'll get into it.
I think I started the documentary, but just for that reason, I was like, I was not in the mood to be listening to hearing somebody talk about like raping and beating.
Oh my god, it made
murdering old people and
almost
shit.
Made me cry a few times. Yeah, it was awful. But he needs to be. So I guess the new American Horror Story has him in it, like a character based off him. Like it's about serial killers. This series. And, like, he's one of them. And I'm like, why is he just randomly now so popular? Like, I just heard of him.
No, and he's so horrible.
Yeah, he's
such an awful fucking person that it's like, why does he get any kind of popularity?
Yeah, why is he getting this? Yeah, but his convictions were 13 counts of murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, 11 counts of sexual assault, and 14 counts of burglary. He got 19 death sentences, but he died before execution on June 7th, 2013 at age 53. I did not look into how he died, but from like being sick, like Henry Lee Lucas.
Yeah, and Ed Edwards. Yeah, that seems to just happen to all of them. They just die before they get killed.
Like we said, just take him in the back and especially Night Stalker, because so basically he had no fucking reason. He was bullied as a kid, like he just wasn't popular. Everybody would describe him as quiet.
Mm-hmm. Well, he
hailed Satan. He did say that.
He claimed that his uncle or his cousin murdered somebody in front of him, right?
Oh, I don't remember. When he was really
young.
Maybe.
I think that was him. Like it was like his cousin who was like a Vietnam vet and like clearly psychotic. Like shot somebody in the face while he was in the room when he was really
in, like,
young.
A rough neighborhood too, like with gangs and stuff.
Yeah.
Because so there were 2 detectives very popular in LA at the time. Well, one was a really young guy, and one was like the known detective. Like people idolized this guy. Actually, Night Stalker idolized this guy. Like he knew exactly who he was. He was on the case. He had this young Spanish dude join. He was new to the whatever, but he was the other detective. He was very smart. And this was literally a puzzle because the only thing that they had that was consistent to all of the killings were his shoe print. Like he kept stepping in blood. It was somewhere. It was on a person's face in one of them. Like it was, the way he killed people was literally awful. And what he would do was he would abduct kids, rape them, but set them free. Like he wouldn't kill kids. And the part that got me to cry almost was they had an interview with one of the little girls that he abducted. She was 6 at the time. She's older now, probably like in her 30s. Obviously, if you do the math, you'll know. But it was so hard to watch. But basically, she like described what he would do, but then set her free just on the side of the road randomly, like go to the payphone and call for them to come get you. And it was like, what the fuck? It was awful. And then, like, so the detectives interviewed her as a kid. And they were like, it was really hard for them. Like, they all cried afterwards. And they're like,
no shit.
Yeah. Because she was like, I'll go and, like, talk in front of him. Like, go to court and do it. If that means no little girl has to go through what I did. And I was like, stop. That was hard. And then after the interview, they're like, we're going to drop all these and just stick with the murders because they don't want any kid to do that. And I'm like,
that's horrible. Like having, I guess you're not forcing them, but just the fact that those kids would have to go through it again.
Oh my God. It was so hard. Like when the detectives were talking about it on the dock, they like started getting teary-eyed thinking about it. I'm like, dude, that would be awful. But so he did that. He would just kill old people. Like literally, California was terrified. Because there was no rhyme or reason to what he was doing. He would just walk into your house, murder you, leave a little pentagram on the wall or some
or
dumb
just
shit.
Rape you and tell you he was the Night Stalker and leave.
Yeah, or he'll just eat your food. Like they're like, sometimes he'd eat, sometimes he'd steal their jewelry, sometimes they'd go through, like he was never consistent other than the shoe print. He'd always leave a shoe print like in the mud by the window he went in the blood, like.
It's almost like he was trying to leave clues for himself.
Yeah, it was so weird. And then he went to San Francisco, and there was a murder that was very similar to like all the other ones. And they're like, did he travel to San Francisco? Like, did he do? He did that. Came back, killed more people. Like it was so often, but so inconsistent, and it was hard. And then one time he was like going to his like. They found out who it was, so they're looking for him. His shit's all over the news, and he comes back to LA, like the part where they're looking for him, and immediately everyone knew who he was. People chased and beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. That's like the best part of the story is like, because it was like gangs. It was like fucking gangs like fucking knew it was him and chased him down and beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah, oh my God. And then, but he got fame kind of like Ted Bundy because women idolized him because they have like the weird fetish, and then he was so famous. Weird. Yeah, he was famous. He got married while he was in jail.
Yeah, so did like fucking Marilyn Manson and fucking or not Marilyn Manson, Charles
Manson. Yeah, like it's weird because women would like show their tits to the like
the dude's teeth were rotting out of his fucking head.
Everyone the guy in the library, because he went to the library, looked up horoscopes and torture were the two things he wanted to look up books on, and the guy's like, luckily that wasn't in my department, but he was just like, he smelled like, I forget what he said, like
bad. He smelled
like
bad.
He gave a specific word, but he's like, it was awful,
like severe halitosis.
Yeah, like because he went to the dentist and all his teeth were like rotting, and that's how they like finally it took, and everything was just like a coincidence on like it not working out for these detectives. Like he went to the dentist, they got that shit because he left a card in a car that he stole for this dentist appointment. They wanted to set up cameras, but they're like, no one would help them. And then they had a detective stay there all week. Then they're like, we're not doing this anymore. Just tell us if he comes. They put in a button. The button didn't work. He came back in, and the dentist called the detective at night, like, where were you? I kept pushing the button. Didn't work. And it was the day after they stopped having their detectives in there. Like, it was just like so frustrating. And he killed so many people so fast. So like, you want it to stop because the whole state's like terrified to live. Like women were cutting their hair short because he was going after women with long hair. So like women were like cutting their hair short to look like men. Like it was a bad time for them for like a year.
Yeah,
that's awful.
He's definitely one that I'm like, he was horrible, just a horrible fucking.
When he got sentenced to death, all he did was, like, he had the pentagram, like, tattooed in him or, like, scarred in him. And he's like, Hail Satan. And then walks out with a smile. I'm like, that motherfucker, dude.
It's like, you don't even believe in Satan. You are Satan. Like, that dude is the fucking devil.
He was awful.
Personified.
It was very hard to watch. If you, like, it's hard for anybody to watch. Like, I don't even like kids that much, but that was fucking awful.
I mean, I hate kids, but I'm, like, I'm definitely sensitive to hearing about kids being tortured and raped. Like, that's
awful.
just
old women too. We went for like people that were like
all over the place. He didn't have an MO.
That's true. Yeah, but
which I think is why it was so hard for them to find him, because most killers have like an MO. Like they have a specific type of person that they want to kill and a type of killings that they want. But he was like stabbing people, shooting people, just raping fucking kids, fucking elderly, regular, like, you know, middle-aged people. Like, it was just, he was all over the board.
And honestly, they called him the Night Stalker, but he had a name before that was called the Walking Killer, and I thought that was way more appropriate because he didn't stalk anybody. He literally just chose the house, went in it, and just...
Yeah, he didn't even study, like, who he was gonna... It's not like he was, like, he's targeted people specifically. He would just be, like... He'd probably walk by him one day and be like, hey, I think I'm gonna break into that house and kill whoever's inside.
Yeah. Like, maybe they don't lock the door when they walk in and be like, that's probably good. It's a good target.
He was a damaged man.
Yeah, like, I don't even know. He's one I can't figure out, like, why did he, other than what you said, I don't remember that, but maybe, like, because sometimes I get sidetracked watching things, but.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was, like, a story. It was, like, his uncle or his cousin was a Vietnam vet, and he was, he got really, because whoever it was started giving him a lot of drugs too when he was real young. Like, he was like probably 10, 11 years old, started giving him drugs, and then one day he killed like his girlfriend or his wife in front of him.
I mean, that is traumatizing, but I don't know. That's fucked up. He's fucked up.
I mean,
dude.
yeah, it's still no excuse for what he did.
No, like,
you know, it's not like it's not something that I would say like, oh yeah, we should feel bad for him for
no,
this.
No,
like,
no, I know. The one with Henry Lee Lucas kind of made you want to feel bad for him. Same with Ted Bundy.
Oh, I don't feel bad for Ted Bundy.
Oh, me either. But like with the Zac Efron thing, kind of pissed me off because
they made him look like a sympathetic character.
Because I'm like, dude, I'd let him without, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Jim Norton has a really fantastic joke about Ted Bundy, about like the way that we look at Ted Bundy, how he's like
famous. He's just a star.
How he's like a handsome man.
Yeah.
He's a super genius and shit. And I'm gonna give away Jim Norton's joke a little bit now, but he goes, yeah, everybody says he's a super genius, a really really smart guy. He decided to defend himself and be his own lawyer during his case, and then he got the death penalty. How does that make him a smart person? Like
I've heard that. Yeah,
that's literally the worst. Worst. He decided to be his own lawyer and did the worst job of any lawyer you could possibly do. He got himself the death sentence.
Yeah, I mean, he rightfully so.
Yeah. It's like, maybe we should stop calling these people geniuses and handsome and all that shit. Like, maybe we should stop glorifying serial killers. Because Jim Norton, kind of going on a tangent here, but Jim Norton also goes off into it about how do we look at stand-up comedians who say bad words as being evil people, but then we say all these great things about a murderer.
Yeah.
You know?
No, facts, though. That's so fucking dumb. You want to know what else I don't get? This is kind of off topic. I was watching Halloween, the Rob Zombie one on TV on Sci-Fi the other day.
Yeah.
It can show murder, even though it's fake. But you know what I mean? But they can't say fuck. Yeah. I'm literally watching, because when the little boy says fuck you can't hear it. But he's going to murder the kid in a few seconds, but you can't hear him say fuck you. I'm like, what?
Yeah, censorship's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, but anyways, what's your number one?
Okay, so this is going to be a tough one for me to pronounce. My number one is the Dnipropetrovsk Maniacs. Dnipropetrovsk. I just call them the Ukrainian Maniacs.
Okay, that's fine. We'll go. They're from the Ukraine. All right, go on. I'm like, where are they from?
Well, there's two of them. It's Viktor Sayenko and Igor Soprenyuk. They were both 19 years old when they were charged with 21 murders that took place between June and July of 2007.
Oh, so kind of recent-ish.
Yeah,
in our lifetime.
Pretty recent, yeah. They initially started attacking people that they would pick up with their friends on licensed taxi, and they would do it just to rob them, just to steal their money and shit. They would hit them over the head with a hammer.
Smart.
And take their fucking money.
And that's it.
But yeah, but eventually, because they were psychopaths, decided they were going to start killing people.
They're like, let's kick it up a notch.
Yeah, they ended up murdering, and they would do it all on film. They would beat people to death with a fucking hammer that they wrapped in a plastic bag.
They recorded it?
Yeah, they did it all on film. We actually talked about this recently. But yeah, they one of the videos got leaked on the internet. It's a popular video called Two Guys, One Hammer.
We talked about this playing video games, right?
Yeah. And
Cody and I already had this whole conversation while playing video games the other night.
Yeah, and they actually, a couple of the kids that they went to school with claimed that they told them that they had plans of making 40 snuff films and selling them to like some foreign market. That they had some kind of connection with some rich foreign guy who offered them a large amount of money to murder 40 people on film.
Oh my god!
But that hasn't been proven yet. There's no evidence. The only evidence is they say that they weren't the ones in the fucking video, because there's apparently 5 different videos that they found of them murdering people, and they still to this day, and same thing with their parents, still to this day claim that it's not them in the video, but you can see them in the fucking video. It's like it's literally them posing next to the bodies, like, hey, like, it's for real, and it's yeah, and there's they found a bunch of pictures of them that they took themselves after they murdered and mutilated animals, and they would hang them up in trees and take pictures with them and shit.
Yo, early
with
signs for real.
Yeah, with a Hitler mustache and doing the fucking Nazi salute and shit.
Oh my god.
Probably shouldn't have done that on video.
Probably. You were just explaining a story. Go on.
But yeah, they would Yeah, so the one kid was born on Hitler's birthday on 420, so he worshipped Hitler.
Wait, that's Hitler's birthday?
Yeah, April 20th.
Yo, kind of respect for him now. No, okay.
You probably shouldn't have said that on a recording.
I'm kidding. Hitler's bad. Although Hitler was mentally fucked up too.
Bad, you know?
He killed millions of
guy.
people.
Whoever would have thought?
But hey, he had a bad life too. Well, he was mentally fucked. Anyways, moving on.
But yeah, they I guess it says it's rumored that there was at least 6 videos of the pair committing their crimes. And yeah, like I said, one video was leaked to the internet, and that's when I first heard about them because I saw the video. Oh, absolutely. Oh my god. It's horrible.
Yeah, you did talk
about
this.
It gave me fucking, I still have nightmares about it.
I tuned you out when you were talking about it because I don't.
It's fucking bad, man. It's literally, and the video starts right away with the dude just literally the first freeze frame is the hammer in the air and the kid just beating the dude's face in with the hammer. That's why it became my number one, because that video fucked me up.
It traumatized you personally.
When I was in high school, so I thought it was something, for some reason I thought it was something that I wanted to watch, but it literally still gives me nightmares to this day.
You remember that shit though? You could see anything on YouTube even back then. You could just look up and it's there.
I think his name was Nick Berg. You ever see that video?
No.
I think it was just on YouTube for a long time, where he was a journalist who got captured by Al Qaeda and had his head chopped off on video.
I do know where you're talking. Yeah. I'm bad with names, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and that's fucked up.
But yeah, that's why I picked those kids, because that was just growing up in that early internet era. You know, it just being exposed to that without being old enough to realize that you don't want to be exposed to that is just. It's definitely a big bit become a part of my life, you know, the image of the kids fucking beating that guy's face in is burned into my head. Just talking about it now and thinking about it, it's just the image is burned into my fucking brain.
It's pretty awful. Especially knowing it's true. Mm-hmm. I mentioned this the other night, but on TikTok, although you can't believe everything on TikTok, but it was actual footage though that they just uploaded on TikTok. Of these 2 boys going to kill, they recorded themselves going to kill a classmate, this girl that invited them. I think she invited them over to hang out, but they're she's alone, her parents are out of town, her house unlocked, we're gonna go kill her. They were recording themselves yeah, and then afterwards they recorded themselves how they felt, and it's so weird to me because they were yeah, fuck yeah, they were excited, and that's just. I used to want to go to school for psychology to fucking learn about this shit because it's interesting, but also I feel I'd go insane. What I mean? I take everything really people's emotions, I guess an empath in a way. So I would go home. I wouldn't be able to go home and not think about that shit.
Yeah, it's a tough life. I mean, that happens with a lot of psychologists, and same thing with nurses who have to deal with death all the time. It's not, nobody can just walk through that. And if you are just walking through that, there probably is something wrong with you. You know? And it's not always a bad thing. That was something, going back to Ed Edwards, there was a guy, a detective that fucking was interviewing him, and people were saying another detective was it's weird, you and him are the exact same person. And he was just yeah, we are. We're really, really similar. Except I don't fucking kill people.
Yeah.
But, I just feel you do, it does affect you. And they're the people that it doesn't affect, there's definitely a little something off with them. But that doesn't always mean that they're bad people.
They're going to take it to this step. Yeah. No, I agree with that. There's definitely something in the brain, but it's just I'm not justifying people murdering people. That's not justifiable. You should get help if you know you need it.
Yeah.
But it's I want to just understand, I think that's important to know, for one, because you could prevent, if you, I'm not saying I want to crack the case, but you know what I mean? It's just killing animals and bugs at a young age is definitely an early warning sign that they're able to kill, they have that in there.
I don't know about bugs.
No,
I would say animals.
Yeah,
bugs. I kill bugs now.
You know what I mean though? There's little kids that are into torture though. They would take the bugs and my little sister's one of those people. She scares the fuck out of me.
I will say too, sometimes TV has a really bad influence.
Social media.
I remember wanting to stick a fucking firework in a frog's throat and blow it up just because I saw somebody say it on TV. I said that to my babysitter. I was like, I'm gonna get some fireworks and I'm gonna blow up a frog, and my babysitter was outright like, if you do that, you could turn into a serial killer. Like, that's what serial killers do. Do you want to be Ted Bundy? Is that what you want? And like, I was like, no. I just saw somebody do it on TV and thought it would be funny.
Or like tying cats' tails together over a clothesline and they fight to death. Have you ever heard?
I've heard of that. I don't remember where I heard it from.
Me either, but I grew up knowing that. Where did that come from? But anyways, that's fucked up. Don't do that.
That sounds like something that fucking disgusting. Ted Bundy would do.
Exactly.
And that's what Stephen Avery did, right? He put a fucking cat in a bag and burned it, right?
Yeah. I have a few honorable mentions that aren't serial killers, but almost. So, are you done with your number one?
Oh, there was a couple of things I want to say. Soprenuk's father was the personal pilot of the president of the Ukraine, which they believe that's why they went as long as they did without getting caught.
Oh.
And they also, that's where some of the rumors come from, where they got the contact for a foreigner that wanted snuff films.
Okay.
And the other guy, Sayenko's father, was a lawyer and became at least one of their lawyers during the case.
That shouldn't be allowed, but I know it's not. It's
the Ukraine. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. But
other than that, that was all. I think that was all I had to say. And just I think I said all I wanted to say about those pieces of shit. That definitely
should have been your number 2.
I know.
Compared to Ed.
Well, the Ed Edwards was my number 1 before listening to that, or my number 2 before listening to that podcast, before I found out so much about him and became so interested in his case, you know? But yeah, I probably should have made that my number 1.
Yeah, that one was fucking good.
I just never reordered it. But I will say, though, the Ukrainian maniacs, those kids definitely affected my life more than anybody else. Like, that's why I put them at number 1, because I watched that video at such a young age, and it just really fucked my life up.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in high school, and I graduated in 2009, and they committed the murders in 2007. So I had to have watched it while those trials were going on.
True.
While it was fucking still happening, you know? At the very least, because I remember talking about it, like, at the fucking lunch table in high school. So, like, I really, like, I watched that shit, like, right after it fucking happened.
Dude.
And, you know, you watch it thinking, like, oh, this isn't going to be real. This is just going to be some bullshit. And then after, like, watch the video and then do the research on it, it's like, oh, I just watched a guy die.
Legit.
Like, I watched a guy literally get his face smashed in and then start choking on his own blood. It's crazy. It's wild.
The other day, on my way to work, I rolled up at the intersection before going, like, I'm bad with roads. Before going, like, when you get into Southside, that intersection right there. Before
14.
Someone got in an accident. I'm assuming they turned right on red without looking if someone was coming, is how it looked. Anyways, so I rolled up must have been, like, almost right after it happened. There were police there, but no ambulance yet, and a fire truck, and debris everywhere. You couldn't tell what the car was. There's a guy laying on the side of the road with his girlfriend, and he's, like, laying crying in agony, and that affected me for hours, seeing that, because no ambulance was there yet. He's waiting. It's pouring out. It's like disgust. It was like the horrible setting. A horrible song was on my car too, like a sad song, and like that like affected me so much for like hours. And I had to go to work, and I'm like,
my brother saw a guy die there.
Is that what the cross is for? There's a cross right there at that corner.
I mean, maybe. It was a kid. He saw a kid get hit by a fucking... he was on a motorcycle and he got hit by a car.
Oh, my God.
He said the kid's neck looked like it was just whipped around. Like, it snapped his neck and there's... Blood started pulling up when he fucking first got there and shit. Yeah.
Wow.
He was fucked up for a while after that.
Yeah, that would... I don't know. I don't think that guy died. Like, but still, like, he was, like, suffering. Like, you could tell he was, like... fucked up. Like, I don't know what was wrong with his legs, but he couldn't get up. Like, he was laying on the ground, like his neck, like
probably in a lot of fucking pain. Let me just say this is a little off subject, but since you brought that up, why do we pay so much money in taxes to have police drive around so they can be at a fucking place as soon as they need to be, but not ambulances?
Facts.
Why don't we fucking take that? Why don't police... I was thinking about this the other day because I was thinking about it in terms of like firefighters. How come a cop can be at a fucking scene in less than a minute, but it can take a fucking firefighter 25 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, we're paying cops to patrol. We're paying cops to patrol, and we're paying firefighters to sit in the firehouse.
Yep.
Why isn't it the opposite? Why don't we pay cops to sit in the fucking police station until they get called and they're needed, and we pay fucking firefighters to drive around, so that way if there's a fucking fire, they can be right fucking there.
Well, because police can make more money just by pulling people over for dumb shit.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
It's money. But
it's
also,
horseshit.
It should all just be equally funded out so they all can be doing their job more.
I say fuck giving people fines. Fuck giving people fines for fucking speeding or parking tickets or anything.
It's how states make money, though.
I guess.
Like, that's why cops are out hard at the end of the month so they can meet their quota. Like, they're literally in Gillette, too, fucking waiting for you at the end of the month. Like, they're waiting for you. I'm like, fuck you. Anyways, but...
Fucking pieces of shit, man.
Yeah.
All right, what's your honorable mentions? I assume Brad's here because I heard the dog barking.
No, maybe. I don't know. The don't fuck with cats. I forget his name, but he wasn't a serial killer because he just killed animals and one human. But he idolized serial killers. Have you seen that doc?
Oh yeah, I was trying to think of what the dude's name is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Luca Brasi. No, Luca Brasi's from fucking Godfather. It was Luca something.
It was Luca. His name was Luca, and he was a kid, maybe my age, in his 20s. And he, like, idolized serial killers, but he would, like, torture animals like cats and stuff and dogs. And then he eventually killed a human. But he was really fucked up. And he would do it well, at first they didn't know where. Because pretty much he would just upload this shit on the internet. And people on Facebook made, like, a group page.
Luca Magnotti, it just came to me. Magnotti was his last name.
Magnotti?
Yeah.
Luca
Which I think it was a fucking fake name anyway. I think that was his like stage name when he was trying to be an actor or
a model. Yeah. And like he failed at all these things, and then he just kind of like hated life, and his mom was insane too. Like he would never. Yes, he would. He fucking did. He did. He was like he would upload this shit like on Facebook and stuff. Then the Facebook page got made to like don't fuck with cats because he killed a cat. The first one, I won't tell you how. Pretty awful. And then this one girl, and then at the end of that doc, what did she say that was triggering? I'm like, you little bitch.
Oh, she says that everybody that's watching the documentary is the problem and not her.
And it's like, oh, so
she's like, she like wags her finger at everybody watching the documentary and is like, aren't you like all the fucking attention you're giving this is what creates things like this? And it's like, bitch, this is your documentary.
Yeah, bitch, like, you're the one that made the page.
Yeah, if you really believe that, then why are you even a part of this documentary?
Yeah.
And to the people that made that documentary, fuck you too for even putting that in at the fucking end.
They probably thought
like,
it was
you are the fucking problem. I'm not the problem. You're the fucking problem.
I was just bored wanting to watch some fucked up shit.
Yeah, I'm just trying to watch a cool documentary. I started that shit on accident. It literally just started playing after whatever the last thing that I started watching was. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to sit through this, I guess. You almost
made me spit out my drink because Netflix does that shit.
Yeah. And then at the end of it, I sat there and watched something that you made me fucking watch. And then at the end, you chastised me for it.
Facts.
Fuck you.
Factual.
Fuck you, the people that made that documentary. Suck a dick.
But anyways, that kid, yeah, he's fucked up. And what I did, it makes me think of how fucked up our minds are. So the detective lady, who was when he killed a human, she was just talking about it like he filled up the tub, his decapitated head was just floating, twirling, whatever. This was in the video. She's talking about normal, and then she's like, but then the camera gets to the dog, and then she like starts like choking up. I'm like, you just nonchalant talk about this dude's head like floating in the water, twirling, no problem. Yeah. But then the dog.
Yeah.
And it's like
the dog was the innocent one in all of this.
I'm like, word? I'm like, this all is sad. But
didn't that kid he sent like body parts to
Canada. It all happened in Canada.
Yeah, but he sent it to like
the prime minister and shit.
Like government officials and shit.
Like he sent like the head to the prime minister, I'm guessing, and a foot to one and the arm to the other and abdomen to one. I don't know. But he was fucked up. But he pretty much just followed movies. Like, his mom was like, yeah, he idolizes them. Like, he has the posters on his wall. But there's no way that my baby would do that.
He did the murders exactly like in fucking Cruel Intentions.
Yeah. It's like,
or not Cruel Intentions, whatever the fuck that movie, Basic Instinct.
Yep, and it's like, all right, you just don't want your son to get like, because he's young, he ruined his life.
Well,
so.
it's the same thing as with the Ukrainian maniac's parents.
Oh, they're like, no way.
There's literally video of their kids doing it, and they're just like, nope, they made that video. This Hollywood special effects made that video, you know? And it's like, no, you don't
know what a snuff film is, obviously.
Yeah, they brought in an expert during that fucking trial, and the expert was like, nah, this is clear, like, after studying the evidence, this is not a doctored video. This is literally just a flip phone camera video of your kids committing murders. Do you have any other honorable mentions? I don't have any.
I had one on my mind, but then I forgot it, so guess not.
All right, well, that was everybody's top 3 serial killers. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Peace.